Alright, looks like we're just getting started here. Alright guys, hi, welcome everybody. My name is Austin Kwidzinski and I'm going to be your facilitator today. Today I am so excited to walk you through this special Friday Family Arts. We're going to be looking at some Flipbook animation today, and I have a little example here of one that I made for the demo. And as you can see, we're going to flip through. We have a nice little egg and a little triceratops that pops out. Let's do that one more time just so we can see that. There you go. Nice. So this is an example of what we're going to make today. Animation is something that I'm very passionate about and very excited to actually teach you guys. We're going to go over some of the basics of animation and kind of things to think of as far as frames and timing and all that sort of thing. So we're going to be making this today. So get ready. Alrighty guys, so let me walk you through some of the materials that we're going to need for this project. So we're going to need some little cue cards here. Doesn't matter if they're lined or not lined. So we're going to need about 30 for them, just give or take. This animation in particular that we're making is 25 frames, but we're going to be using some for a template and all if you make any mistakes, so make sure to have a little bit of extra. We're going to need a pencil, a fine tip marker to go over our creation afterwards, and an eraser for if we make any mistakes, and a light box if you have one. If you don't have one, that's okay. I'm going to show you a quick little trick that we can use with our smart devices, whether it be a phone or an iPad. In this case, I'm going to use my iPad just to show you because it's a bigger device and hopefully it shows up better on camera. So here is my iPad here, and what we can do is we can actually go in the settings here, display and brightness, and there's a feature called auto lock that's right here. So we click the auto lock. What that does is when your phone is not being used or anything, it sets a little bit of a timer, and then once it turns off, the screen will go black. So we're going to actually set that to never. So what that does is that we're always going to have our iPad on, and it's going to emit light. And that's what we want, just to create a do-it-yourself light box. So I'm going to go to photos here, and I have a few paper textures. A white background is going to work perfect for this. I blow this up, and now what we can do is we can use our cue cards. And it doesn't show up on stream as much, but you can actually see through that, and it's going to help us with our animation process. So that's one way to do it, guys. I'm going to use the light box just because it's much easier and convenient to show you some of the lessons I'm talking about. Now, one thing I want to talk about animation is some of the principles that to be used. So for this flipbook in general, one of the principles that we use is squash and stretch. So squash and stretch is principle. This is a common exercise used in animation where it's a bouncing ball. As you can see, the ball is starting to descend to the ground. It squishes down in the bottom, and then it starts to come back up. As you notice, the ball it keeps its shape here, but then it starts to stretch down, and even to the point. Look at the difference between this ball here, as it's a perfect circle, and this one here, where it's like a long oval. So when it's starting to make impact, the force of the gravity pushing it down keeps it low, and then it starts to propel itself back up. So this is a very common exercise. If we just did this simple shape and we kept it consistent all the way down, it would look very stiff and unnatural. Another example of squash and stretch is used in this here, was Disney's Tangled. Our main character Finn here is being pulled by this horse on the side of the screen here. Look how elongated Finn is. This is not natural human proportions, but the animators did this to really stretch out that motion. As you can see, he's getting pulled down, starts to pull, and then at the very bottom here, he starts to revert, kind of squish back in, and this is like a normal state. Look at the size difference between these two images here. So that's one of the principles that I want to imply for when we're going to be doing our project today. So I'm going to grab a few cue cards, and I'm going to walk you through it together. We're going to first do it in pencil here, and then we'll go over it in fine tip marker, and then you'll see the creation afterwards. So with this ball, you can see the first 3 frames here, they're very close together. And this is called anticipation, where we're waiting for the action to take place. It gives the viewer a little bit of time to rest before the action is going to take place. So we're going to emulate that with ours too. Now what's important for this project is we're going to want to number our cue cards. There's going to be a lot of them. We're doing 25 frames, so we don't want to lose track. So for the first frame, what we're going to be doing is we're going to have the bottom base here. This is where our egg is going to start to land. So we're going to want to draw that in like so, right there. So 1, this is second frame, 2, and as you can see, I can see through where that position is. We're going to do that one more time. And for the third frame, we're going to do the same thing. Now you can do this process just by eyeballing it. So like if we lift this up, we can kind of guess where that position is without a light box. But this just makes the process easier and we're not guessing as much. So look at that. We already have 3 frames done out of the 25. So 1, 2, 3, and we keep them numbered so we can position them. Now for the fourth one, we're actually going to make a template first, and we want to get that egg shape down. So what I'm going to do is take number 2 here. Use that bottom shape as consistency here. And then I'm going to start to make a nice egg shape. There you go. We can be messy with it because this is just a template here. There you go. So that's going to be our egg. So this is just a template here, so don't worry about it. We're going to actually mark it as template so we don't forget. So for the fourth frame, what we're going to do is we're going to actually do the same position as the beginning to keep that consistent, like so. But we're going to start to actually have our egg appear in this frame. So we're going to start, it's actually going to come up from the top and then drop down. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to just inch that a little bit over and have it so it's going to start to come down like so. So that's 4. Now we're going to move on to 5. Same thing, we want that consistency here. Make sure that's lined up. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need to noodle it or anything like that. And then we're going to start to lower that lower than the last frame. So it was about there last time, so we're going to actually move it up a bit. And it's coming in frame there. Like so. Perfect. All right, 6th frame. Same thing, we're gonna just keep going down. Animation can be definitely a tedious project or process. It takes a long time to draw everything out, especially frame by frame animation, which is we draw each frame of this particular project. So 1, 2. Now we're gonna have it about, how about this way here? About halfway through the egg. I'm gonna fix that line a bit. We're gonna go over this in marker anyways. All right, 7. Same thing, we're going to continue to go down to the point where it's almost there, about 3/4 of the way. Okay. 8 here. Still marking that bottom, so we know exactly where that's going to be. And now we're super close. We're just going to have a little bit missing from the top, but we're almost there. We almost have the entire egg on screen. This is number 9. I'm going to mark that last one. And now our egg is going to be fully in screen. We're going to actually drop it down a little bit. So we got our template here. That's last time. This is the last frame. So we're going to actually bring it down. Let's say about there. And we're going to draw the whole thing. And we're going to complete that round egg shape. 9. And this is frame 10. And now we're actually going to have the egg hit the ground. So it's a good thing that we marked this area here where it's going to hit. And what's going to happen is that it's actually going to start to round itself here. So we're going to do about, I'm going to get this nice round shape in here. And the thing is about this animation, you can be totally rough. It doesn't have to be perfect lines or anything, because we're going to go over it in a marker anyways. And I'm going to draw this a little bit darker so it looks like there's a little bit of impact coming down. So that's the 10th frame. We're almost halfway there. All right, 11. And now we're going to get into the squashing motion. So this base of this egg is almost going to look like an oval. So we're going to draw that. And as you can see, we can compare it to the last one that we drew here. That's that last egg. And we're going to have it nice and round, because it's starting to make impact with the ground and really squish, almost like a pancake. And what's going to happen now on this frame, frame number 12, is that once it's squished down, it's going to start to come back up again. So we're going to draw it. We're going to draw it coming up a little bit more. And this is why we use the light box, because we can see the last frame that we drew. Still squash, but not to the extent as it was before. You can notice the difference between the two. So in the 13th frame, it's going to start to form a little bit more of a circle now. So we got that bottom of the base here. I'm going to start to get a nice circle shape coming. Like so. 13. And now we're going to get to our fully formed egg at frame 14. So I have, this is why we number it, because I had my template page all the way down here. So we're going to get a little bit organized here. And for 14, we're going to draw the full egg in its entirety. Now I'm just gonna move it up a little bit so we can get the roundness of the egg on the bottom there. Because for my initial one, I drew it a bit flat. Like so. Have it nice rounded. Perfect. That's frame 14. Now for frame 15, what we're going to do is there's going to be a bit of anticipation. So this is using timing in our animation, and the viewer is going to have to wait a little bit, because what we're going to do is we're going to show the exact same frame. So we're just going to redraw it. So this all comes into play about timing our animation right. There you go. So 15. And 16 is actually going to be the same thing too. We're going to keep that shape. I'm just going to use 15 as an example. Draw that base in there. And complete that egg shape. Like so, 16. Now for frame 17 is when we get to the fun part. What we're going to be doing is the egg is actually going to start to crack open and reveal our character. That's 16, this is 17. Now for mine, I did a Triceratops. You can do anything you want, it really doesn't matter. Get creative with it. Afterwards you can design your egg. But for the purposes of the demo, we're going to keep it nice and simple. So for frame 17, what we're going to do is we're going to add a crack in there. So there's 1, coming right about there, and then we'll do a little piece of the egg popping off like that. So that's frame 17. We'll get cleaned up a little bit here. We'll organize this better. Cool. 16, 17. Now we're on frame 18. And same thing, we're just going to draw this exact same egg. And we're going to add a second crack. So it's going up, and then it's going to start to come down, like so. And what we'll do is we added that one little piece coming off, we'll add a second piece coming off over here too. So that's frame 18. I'll clean this so it looks a little bit more organized for you. We have frame 7 all the way up there. There's our template. There we go. Cleaning up shop. And now onto frame 19. We're only doing 25, so we're almost there. So in animation, typically 24 frames is within a second. So it's a very quick animation that we're making. So we have 1 crack, 2 crack, and then the 3rd crack going here, right through the middle. And for the 3rd crack, what we'll do is we'll change it up a bit. We'll change the placement of where the piece of the egg is breaking off. 20. We made it 2-0. And then we're going to complete the cracked egg here. One, 2, 3, down. And now we're going to have the egg cracking on both sides. So we're going to have little pieces coming out there, like so. So frame 21 is where we get to the fun stuff. And our little character is going to pop out ever so slightly. 21. So what we're going to do first is we're going to draw the base of the egg, because that is not going to change. And we're going to draw it from where the crack was, like so. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just move our page down a little bit, and we're going to use that top part. And as you can see, we're going to make a little space for our character. So that's going to just pop off like so. Like that. We'll add a little bit of roundness. Give them 2 eyes. And Triceratops have a little horn in there. So there you go. He's just peering out, and we still have the cracking egg pieces coming out. Like so. So that's frame 21. Now on to 22. Again, draw the bottom here. That's our base. Like so. And then what we're going to do, we're going to have him peer out a little bit more, not too much. So I'm just going to move it down a little teeny bit. Like so. And same thing. And this time I'm going to have his little horns popping out a bit. So same thing. I'm going to have his eyes here. He's got a little horn here. And now instead of the egg shapes, we're going to actually do just little exclamation points, because this is a big deal that our little guy is finally hatching out of the egg. So we're going to just add this inwards. We have 3 more frames and we're done. Super close. So 22. And what we'll do is we'll go over each of them, and then you can see it in its entirety here too. So 22. 23, same thing. Draw the bottom. we're going to have it again raised a little bit more, not too much, but we just want to add a little bit more to our character here. I'm leaving space for the horns this time. There we go. Have his horn up here, eyes. Like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw this in. And I'm gonna add a little smile in for him too, as he's coming out. There, he looks nice and happy now. There you go. One thing I did forget to add, so we're gonna go back a few steps, is Triceratops have a little bit of, I don't know what you would call it exactly, but they have a little bit behind their head there. So we're gonna add that in. 1, 2, 1, 2. And same thing with this finished guy. We're going to give him 1, 2, 1, 2. There you go. And that is our final frame at 23. I mislabeled. But we are going to draw it 2 more times for the timing of this animation. So instead, if we were just to leave it as is, we would be flipping through and it would just stop all of a sudden. And sometimes you'll miss that. So we want to hold on the final shot of our character so we make sure that we see it. So we're going to add 2 more frames. So animation is all about timing and placement. 24, but it's going to be identical to frame 23. They're going to be exactly the same. We're just going to redraw it. So this process can definitely be a tedious one for sure, but the beauty of it is that you're going to actually get your images come to life and they start to take form and kind of transcend the page. It's amazing that we have these 2D drawings just come to life right in front of us. So we're going to add, he's all happy. And the last frame right here, and then we're going to go over it in a marker. Make sure we line that up better. There we go. There's 2 little eyes and a smile here. And again, the beauty about this is that we have our base of our character done. If you want to add anything, if you want to decorate the egg into any style that you want, you're perfectly free to do so. And it's not going to ruin the animation at all because we already have the base of our character already drawn. You know, typically in animation, that's what they'll do. They'll draw a really rough animation, get the timing and the forms down, and then they go over top of it and start to add the details and color and sort of things like that. So now we got all 25 frames. What we're going to do is we're going to move our template. We do not need that anymore, and we're going to start to go over it in marker. So I'm going to do this really quick for you guys, just so we can see the final animation put together. Make sure we don't forget any details. Like so. Look how happy he is, cute little guy. Make sure we draw those in. This part in the beginning here, because it's the last frame, it has some more detail, so it'll take a little bit longer, but once we get to when the egg is dropping, that shouldn't be too bad. We'll do that very quickly. And then going in descending order here. Like so. And this process is a pretty easy one in the sense that you can do it with anything. You can do it with stick-it note or post-it notes. You can do it with just blank pieces of paper you have rolling around. It's very accessible. And even with these cue cards, making these flip books, you get a nice solid piece after because the paper is of better quality. It's not like your printed paper. There you go. He's just peeking out. Doesn't have his smile yet on this one. Hopefully that's showing a bit better, coming together a bit. I wanted to show this inking process just because the pencil can be tough to pick up on stream. But you'll really see this come alive. Alright. Now we're on frame 21. Going in descending order, so that way our frames will be all ready to go for us and we don't have to sort through them. Cool. Alright, we just have our egg here. I'll put this lid down like so. That should be faster, because we're getting less and less detailed from our beginning animation. And again, this animation here, it's not colored or anything. You can definitely do that on your own time and get some really cool. It'll really come to life with color. There we go. We're gonna be lightning speed. And now we just have our simple egg. So this should go through much quicker, no problem, on frame 15. Also, animation is also a good way to practice your drawing skills, since you will be drawing forms and different things from different angles, and also needing to draw the timing, and you're drawing it multiple times too. So it's one way to get better at drawing. Practice, practice, practice. This is our squash. Nice and skinny. A little igloo shape here. And here's our egg starting to come into frame. Yeah, we can make this nice and messy, because that's our ground plane. Like so. On frame 7. See, going over this was a lot quicker than the first few ones that we did. Frame 5. And plus the last 3 frames of this, we don't even have our egg in the frame. So that'll make it much easier to start to ink. Look at that, we had 3 and 2 mixed up. It doesn't matter because they're the same, but for consistency, we'll keep them organized. Alright, so that's all of them inked and done. What we're going to use, you can buy these little clips. You don't have to do that. You can flip it this way too, but ooh, it's got some nice bend to it, so we'll have to see. Give that a good little bend there. Let's add this clip, make sure that they're all together. Let's take a look. There you go, and he pops out. Do it one more time. Sweet. And even before inking, say if, like, for example, like, oof, that shape's not quite as round on this side as I want. Before you ink it, you can test out your animation, see if that's how you want it to look, and make changes there. But I just wanted to show you the final result of this guy here. So this has been do it your own flipbook animation. I encourage you guys, you can do this with anything. You can do it with post-it notes, you can do it with these here. I like these just because the paper is much thicker and you get a nice finished feel to it. And also with the lined edge, you can use this as spacing almost like as a graph. So that's really nicely too. But yeah, this has been animation. I hope you guys had fun following along and listen to me talk about this process. Please share your creations with the Reach if you decide to partake in this exercise. We would love to see it. And we'll see you next time for the next Friday Family Arts. Thank you guys.